Hi everyone, my name is Ishna Branch, and for my project, I choose to present on creating an employee relations program. And the title of my program is called the DIS Seminars. So let's get started. Just a few points that we'll cover in this presentation. Um, you've got, of course, your introduction because I need to explain to you what the DIS acronym stands for. And then we'll go right into a proposal. What's entailed in this series of seminars. Also, we'll discuss some of the goals of the program as well as how to build a committee for this program so that it can be facilitated properly. And then we'll talk about how to use a company survey to achieve the best results for your employees. And then at the end, we'll go over a lecture and a case study. Okay, so going into an introduction, really let's just talk a little bit briefly about a human relations program and what it is, what it means. Essentially, these are programs that will go through the HR department of the company. The HR department, of course, are responsible for the overall managing of employee life cycle, like recruiting, hiring, onboarding and training, and unfortunately, in some instances, the firing of employees. And they're also responsible for administering employee benefits as well. This program will be geared towards the entire staff, from the janitorial staff to executive level management. So, having an effective employee relations program, whether it means holding social outings or mini seminars to improve work performance, as long as you make it fun, can improve the experience in the workplace and build the morale of the employees. And that's a good thing. When your employees are happy, they're good workers, they want to be there, they want to come to work, and that in turn will get a better result overall. This also helps to raise employee retention and reduces turnover. So when we talk about diversity initiatives, those are also as equally important. They are anything that helps to dismantle inequity. So they help companies reduce bias and educate employees. They can also be in the form of groups of particular populations of diversity throughout the company. That's one way it can help improve diversity. Okay, so basically, the acronym for the DIS seminar means diversity and inclusion, striving for success. So these would be biannual seminars focusing on diversity topics. The idea is that each seminar can focus on a different topic, as there really is a wide range of them to choose from in regard to diversity and inclusion, and there are others as well. I'm confident that everyone can benefit from this particular topic and all of the seminars. All right, so we want to jump really quickly into the goals. We want employees, as I'm sure any company does, want employees that are versatile and that are comfortable with interacting with people from a variety of different backgrounds, whether it be racial, economic, religious, or even their sexual orientation, because no matter what company it is, whether it's a small business or a Fortune 500 company, um, you'll have to work with people who have backgrounds that are different than your own. With that, being comfortable with effectively communicating and knowing that people are going to be different, have different backgrounds, and have different cultural practices is an essential skill both for a company and for the employee. Those skills, those are skills that will help you to develop professional relationships with other companies and businesses that can benefit and ultimately, the individual too. All right, so next thing we want to go into is preparation. And so, what does that look like? Um, for me, the first step in the preparation process would be to assemble a committee. So this will be done through the Human Resources Department. It's wise to have a few of those representatives on this committee because they're informed on matters relating to human resource and human relations. But also, you want to have people that are well versed in diversity and workplace setting, right? So if the company has a dedicated diversity and inclusion department or individuals, you could invite them to come and speak at these seminars and even join the committee. In the event that they don't, you could outsource someone who's educated in workplace diversity, like professors from universities that have a master's or even a PhD, or even someone that is a diversity specialist. Either one will be a great asset in the learning process. The goal here really is to make sure you're being sensitive to the topics that are being discussed and making sure they're discussed appropriately in the workplace. So here we have a company survey. And it's just an example of results from a company survey that was sent out by Mozilla Firefox and created by Culture Amp. Uh, so if you take a look at some of the things that they were basically trying to gauge, decision making, fairness, opportunities, things like that. So they use questions kind of, based on who I am. I feel that my voice is being heard, or I feel like I belong at XYZ company. By doing this, you can create a focus for your DIS seminars. You will be collecting sensitive information about your employees, but it's important to let them know that they do not have to disclose their identity and that nothing will be held against them. This can really help create focus points for your DIS seminar because you know the diversity issues that are faced in your individual company instead of targeting one, at random. Next, a little bit about seminar content. So, first thing that I feel like maybe somebody could open up with their seminar is to ask this question, like, who here thinks they hold unconscious biases? Now, you may get one person to raise their hand, maybe a few people in the class, or maybe all of them. There's a slim chance that everyone will, simply because they may not understand what it actually is yet. This is the time to educate them on it and to let the people know that they're not in the seminar to be shamed because they have biases, but lots of people have them whether they're aware or unaware. This is really an opportunity to create an open learning environment and not be judged by having these unconscious biases. So during the lecture process or the lecture portion of the DIS seminar, the goal here is to educate. People might know what the diversity topic is, in this instance of unconscious bias. So questions to ask would probably be things like, how might it show itself in the workplace setting? And another good question also is, how can people be affected by it? Those are really good questions to ask, and that gets the conversation going. Um, when you're talking about specific things, you always want to give a clear definition of the topic. So, in this case, we're discussing unconscious bias. The definition unconscious bias can be defined as judgment outside of our consciousness that affects decisions based on background, culture, and personal experience. So, who really has unconscious bias? Really, all of us do, simply in some way or another. Some of us might not want to admit it, but it happens. There are research studies that show that people with the same qualifications, but who have different ethnically sounding names, have different hiring ratings. In some performance reviews, there are other studies that show that women are more harshly judged in their reviews than men, as well as with promotion decisions. And then you probably want to follow up with your lecture with a case study practice. In this, you'll just apply what you've learned in the lecture portion of the DIS seminar, and this should help with retention of the information learned in the seminar, as well as teaching how to navigate the situations. So this case study is an example of unconscious bias. So basically, there are two candidates interviewing for a position, and the interviewer takes this John and Sally. Let's just say those two. So you have John, who is very nervous and he's showing it. And so the interviewer kind of sees something in him that is like him, like himself. And so he kind of calms him down and, a few minutes into the interview and makes them feel really comfortable. And then John feels comfortable and like flies through the interview and makes it, amazing. Well, the Sally comes in and she's a lot more reserved, and the interviewer doesn't really see anything of himself in her. And so automatically he's more drawn to John because he saw some of himself in him, and he kind of had a chance to calm him down, and he allowed John to start his interview over, which gave him leverage to ace his interview to, kind of put that bias out there for the interviewer. So she technically, Sally, did not get a fair interview. She wasn't allowed to start her interview over. So that is an example, really, of unconscious bias by the interviewer. In closing, it really takes a long term commitment from a company in order to create systemic change in the way of diversity. The company must be able to shift the culture of the company in order to promote diversity efforts, and implementing these DIS seminars can be a great example of a commitment to their employees that they value diversity. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in to me and listening, and I really hope you got something from it. I thank you for your time. My contact information is below, and my last slide is going to show my references. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed the class with you all. I'll talk soon.